All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Paul Boysen. I'm a technical artist and labs lead at Side Effects. I focus on the real-time side of things. And today we're talking about procedural pipelines. And to do that, we've invited Erwin. Welcome.
Hi. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks. So procedural pipelines. Let's start off quick and easy. What is a procedural pipeline?
A procedural pipeline is basically a process in your development where you rely on procedural systems to drive the development of your game. Instead of doing everything by hand, you run it through a tool set or, say, a set of tools that are running on a build farm, for example, in order to speed up and automate the way how you develop your games. So I'd say when I was working on Ghost Recon Wildlands or on Breakpoint, we heavily use procedural systems for generating, for example, the roads, the villages, the vegetation in the world, and to composite everything together. And the benefit of all of this was that I think we generated about 80% of the world procedurally, especially the natural looking world, and 20% of that was afterwards done by hand or touched up with smaller procedural tools. And this allowed us to work in a much smaller team, maybe about 300 people at most. And with this, we were still able to make a massive, highly detailed open world. So I think that's the main benefit of using a procedural pipeline. It's just you're able to focus more on detail if you let the procedural elements take care of all the tedium.
That sounds nice. Yeah. So it sounds like you have lots of procedural assets that you're working with. And what sort of different types of assets are you dealing with then?
I like to categorize procedural assets in a couple of different types, right? You have the ones that your end user doesn't really see, but maybe we as the technical artists use. And then you have the tools that you're going to hand off to your team or to other people. And maybe you put them on the render farm. So they just activate it and then it cooks out the result. So one example would be, say, a canned asset. Like the simplest form is an asset you just drop down, configure, and then it just runs. Say, for example, something that would build an elevator or say, spawn vegetation or catwalks, right? And then following that, you have what I mentioned is the utility assets. These are like the labs nodes, so the nodes that come with Houdini Labs. And they need to be very stable because you're going to be using them yourself. You're going to hand them off to other technical artists in your team. And then the way how they're used is more to help facilitate features that Houdini doesn't have by default, such as importing and exporting data to your game engines or maybe processing your geometry in a certain way. Then you have the processors, which are bigger tools, which usually take a while to cook. So we offload those to the render farm, and we just have these smaller input tools that we can hand off to our artists, and they can then use those to send information to the bigger processor, which then processes that data and gives back the result. And finally, I would say the most powerful and art directable ones are the editors. These are my favorite. They are basically a combination of all of the ones before, where you have an input that acts like a painting brush or a handle. And the way how these operate is instead of directly influencing the output, they actually help you manipulate what you're doing and send it to a cache, and you're constantly updating that cache. And the cache is what drives the final output, which was sent to, say, for example, a processor on the render farm. So one example would be, say you have a road, you can use your editor handles to select a part of that road, cut it out, redraw that road, and then save it out to the cache, and then send it to the processor to give you your final roads. And this will give you a very user-friendly and often intuitive workflow if set up right.
That sounds nice. So, you've built all these different tools and workflows. You give them to your users that work at a studio or they work outside of a studio. How do you manage the feedback that they give on your tools?
Well, obviously, if something's broken, we need to fix it, right? Optimally, I think we try to design tools together with the users. So we try to keep them in the loop as we build the tools. But it's also important that we, or at least me in this case as the technical artist, knows the problem that I'm trying to build. It's no use if I build a tool that the user doesn't want to use. And if they have a problem or a bug, then I need to understand why they think it's a problem or a bug. And if sometimes they like the tools, and then say they just want new features, right? So then we need to go it over with, say, the leads and technical artists and make sure that they don't actually request something that maybe they don't actually need because they don't understand the problem. So we need to communicate a lot, and I think that's the most important part: just communication and keeping each other in the loop.
Yeah, no, I can talk about that as well from experience, that communication with your customers or your users is very important, because it saves both you as a developer a lot of time, but also saves the user a lot of time, like you said. So yeah, good to know about that. Do you have any other sort of tips or advice that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, I think that like showing the benefits of your procedural tools to the rest of your team is key. So when you're starting out with your say your pipeline, you want to have some examples or some prototypes that you can lay out for them so they can see the benefits of all of it. And this will tend to bring people on board. As for advice and other advice, well, I actually have something I want to talk about, is that I am also a Houdini teacher. This is something that I've been doing over the past year. I started a few years ago at Ubisoft, where I made a 35-hour masterclass for them. And this was actually pretty well received across the entire company. And since then, I've been working on a new masterclass that I want to publicly release, right? So I kind of wanted to quickly plug that here. So over the past year, I've been working hard on this new public multi-part Houdini masterclass. This is the Procedural Asset Production Masterclass, and it will be a comprehensive multi-stage course on professional digital asset development for game development pipelines. And I'm doing this using the Unreal Engine. So I'm going to use the Houdini Engine plugin as well. So I will start this one for simple beginner level entry. So people that haven't used Houdini yet. And we'll start with these canned assets I talked about, such as an elevator builder and a tool that creates morphing stairwells. So we can have a stairwell that has different shapes. But eventually this masterclass will teach how to integrate these and other assets into a much larger procedural pipeline, building a fully playable, art-directable high-rise building, complete with exterior and interior decoration, wall tiles, and will add details through instancing and geometry generation as well. If you want to know more about the masterclass, you can check out the Q&A section on my Patreon page at patreon.com/Erwin Heyms. And there's a couple of benefits if you were to become a patron, because backers of my Patreon will receive daily and weekly progress updates on the development of the masterclass. They will accumulate a discount for the final course when it's released. And they also gain access to my Discord channel, where they can ask me questions about the development. They can talk to me if you want, or ask for advice on your own projects. And also, I also do mentoring sessions. So if you have your own project and you want me to help you out with that, then I offer that as well. You can check out my Patreon page for that. So definitely go check it out. And I have one last thing I want to mention, and that's some good news here, because thanks to my patrons, thank you for your support, people, because thanks to you and Side Effects, I'm now going to release the intro module of my course for free for everyone. And you can look forward to seeing this be released early next month in conjunction with Houdini Hive.
Great, thanks for sharing that with us. It sounds like a very useful resource for people wanting to know more about procedural pipelines. So thank you.
That's the goal. No problem.